Hello, 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 Mount Juliet. I hope that you're all having a great Friday. It is Friday. That's how I like to call it, Deputy Chief.
Friday. We're on the end of this winter storm, which is awesome. Still going to be cold. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm just glad to be at the end of this. We all week, Monday through today, we've been dealing with storm stuff, and City Hall has been closed all week. Schools have been closed all week. Hopefully, we can all recharge this weekend and get back to it come Monday.
Yeah, hopefully so. And one crew that has 100% not slowed down at all since Sunday is Public Works. So let's go ahead and get started with what they've been up to. They are still on their plowing routes. And we just heard that the tier 1 and tier 2, so those main roads and secondary roads, they are looking in really good shape, is how Public Works described them. And today, you're going to see them out more in your neighborhoods, that specifically working a lot on Hickory Hills, Willoughby Station, Kelsey Glen, Park Glen. That's just a few of them that they named that they'll be out working in those neighborhoods to try to get the neighborhood roads in better shape as well today. So you'll see them brining and salting those as well as plowing. The big thing right now with the plows is a lot of that in the neighborhoods is ice. So they're working really hard to try to get those neighborhood roads cleared though.
Yeah, we have some images of the different roads throughout our community, and we'll start at Interstate 40, which is a road that gets a lot of attention because it has a lot of traffic that TDOT has been on, and you can see it on your screen. It's clear except for those shoulders and emergency lanes on the side. It's dry and clear through our area, which is always good to see. That's one of the first things they tackle, and then they begin to tackle the next roads under that, which would be like Lebanon Road in our community. And here it is looking from Mount Juliet Road. You can see it was a little wet earlier when we took this picture. My guess it's probably dry by now, but there is no patches of ice or snow on Lebanon Road. And then looking at Mount Juliet Road, you can see this is looking towards Lebanon Road at Mount Juliet Road. And it also looks a little wet. It's going through a drying phase and looks nice and clear. This would be Mount Juliet Road near Old Lebanon Dirt Road and looking clear as well. And then Old Lebanon Dirt Road, eastbound. And you'll have to forgive me. I've been dealing with a cough. So, Sammy, take the next ones.
Yeah, so here you are on Old Lebanon Dirt Road near Kelsey Glen. You can see that there's even some dry patches on Old Lebanon Dirt Road at this point. We went down it a few days ago and it was really starting to look good, really looking good today though. And here's Division Street near Mount Juliet Road as well. A lot of dry spots, but you can see some more wet spots toward the side. So just make sure you're taking it slow on those more wet areas, those darker areas, because you don't know if it's ice or just wet, but it is looking a lot better with a lot of dry areas on Division Street near Mount Juliet Road. And here's Division Street near Old Lebanon Dirt Road. That's looking very dry through there. And I think that's probably the most impressive part of Division near Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Division Street near Golden Bear Gateway. Again, you can see some snow and ice, some wet spots in the center there, but whenever you're driving, it is looking a lot more clear, a lot more dry. But you can see on that opposite side, it is a little bit more wet. So just make sure you're taking it slow over those wet spots. And Golden Bear Gateway near I-40. You got some white still on the snow, some snow on the roadway right there. So make sure you're taking it slow over that. But as you can see, as you go further down Golden Bear Gateway, it does start to look a lot more clear.
Yeah, some of that is probably a little bit of the salt.
Yeah.
Makes it look like snow because they've been putting a lot of salt down. And sometimes you think, well, is this ice, snow, or salt? And it's salt in a lot of areas.
Here's Beckwith Road near South Rutland Road. And you can see some dry spots there. The roads have really improved today.
Absolutely.
I would say. Belinda Parkway, again, just make sure you're taking it slow. On the sides of the road, you still have some snow built up on the sides, but you can actually see a full lane now, which that's the first time you've been able to do that. So that's great news. Providence Parkway, wet again, and you can see that snow that slush in the center lane. So make sure if you are in that center turn lane that you are taking it slow as you make those turns. But it's looking really good on the actual street. And then here is what most neighborhood streets are looking like. Again, though, that is Public Works. Their main focus today is hitting a lot of those neighborhoods and trying to get these roads cleared as well. So that is where you're seeing a lot of the snow, ice. Here you can see right here quite a bit of snow and ice and some slush still on the neighborhood roads, but they are working hard all throughout today, and they'll have people in tonight as well working on those neighborhood roads to try to get those cleared.
Yeah, from what I've seen driving around, Sammy, is our main roads and even secondary roads look pretty good. You just want to be careful if you notice those snowy or ice patches out there. Neighborhood streets, of course, still pretty much covered, but just go slow through those neighborhoods. Then you can hit that secondary or primary street and be able to get out just fine. We haven't had any issues looking at our stats that we have. If we can cue up the stats, Jake, please, in the background. All right, looking at our stats, you'll see it. They're much lower. So for Friday, which is today, so far just one crash, which is good, and only two people had to be assisted who became stuck somewhere. And those other numbers are down as well with the animal complaints, welfare checks, and sleddings. But when I see the numbers begin to trend down and trend lower than they have the previous days, I can tell that our roads are much, much better, simply because we're not having the incidents that we typically would have if the roads were worse. Looking at the fire department stats, Sammy, you may want to go over this a little bit.
Yeah, same thing. Numbers are really trending down here as well. Only 4 medical calls so far today, where you had 10 yesterday. Only 1 alarm today, 0 citizen assists, 0 structure fires, and they had 1 vehicle fire earlier this morning. But other than the vehicle fire, those numbers as well trending down. But we have some exciting news for fire. We created them an Instagram account yesterday. So
Yeah.
Mount Juliet Fire, go give them a follow so that you can stay updated on everything that's going on with the fire department. You'll see what they're working on, incidents that they're working on. There's some trainings that will showcase on that Instagram account. So make sure you give at Mount Juliet Fire a follow. Really excited to showcase what the fire department is doing here in Mount Juliet. And here is the weather update. Really exciting because if you take a look as you get further down that 7-day forecast, temperatures are starting to rise, you guys. There is some rain later on, but you do have partly cloudy or cloudy today with a 0 to 40% chance. You probably have seen some flurries that have been spitting out all throughout the day, but 26 to 31 is really where we're looking at today, temperature wise. Tomorrow and Sunday, though, 0% chance of precipitation. So hopefully we get some
Good.
break there. That'll be great to get a break from some snow and rain and hopefully really try to get these roadways in better shape. But it still will be cold at night, that 2 to 8 degrees and 2 to 6 degrees. Really, really cold. So make sure you're bringing in those furry friends at night so that they stay warm as well. And if you are having some other type of heating source, this is something that the fire department really wanted us to touch on as well. If you have a space heater, make sure that anything around that space heater is at least 3 feet away so that you don't catch fire on anything around that space heater. Or if you have a outside heating source, make sure you have a carbon monoxide detector, just because you would have no idea. You can't smell carbon monoxide. It's kind of scary. So just make sure you have that detector, just in case if you're using that outside heating source, especially over these next couple nights that are going to get pretty cold. But temperatures do start to warm up as you get halfway through that 7-day forecast, and by next Thursday can get up to 63 degrees. How about that, Deputy Chief?
Hey, that'll be absolutely awesome. And just want to remind folks, as you do start to get out and about, please be sure you clean that snow off the top of your car. It can become a projectile and fly off and hit the cars behind you. Those other images of the damaged windshields, where even ice went through one windshield and injured a lady who was driving, is damage caused by the snow and ice flying off the top of a car. So please be careful. Please remove that snow and ice before you hit the roads, and make sure you get all of it too. Don't just get the sides. You want to clean the whole roof, the trunk, the hood, all free from any snow and ice if you get out and about. That's awesome. Want to take some questions?
Yeah. I already see a hi, y'all from Rich.
Yeah, Rich isn't at the office today. There he is.
There we
Awesome
go.
job with the weather.
Thank you, Risher. That means a lot coming from you.
And just scrolling through here, different just suggestions about different roads and question here with Central Pike. Central Pike through the city limits. TDOT did get out there and clear it. Central Pike is good through the city. There's some questions here about Saundersville Road and Vanderbilt Road. Those streets are not in the city limits of Mount Juliet. We don't patrol that area or service it through our city services, but county public works and stuff, they've been out and about with their trucks too. Same with Stewart's Ferry Pike in Gladeville. That is not in the city of Mount Juliet. You may have a Mount Juliet address, but it's not city limits of Mount Juliet. So you don't get our police services, you don't get our fire department, and of course, our city public works would not come out there. Laura has a question. Is there a schedule for neighborhoods to be plowed? And Laura, there is a map type schedule that they use from tier 1, tier 2 streets, and then they'll tackle the different neighborhood streets. But some neighborhood streets are considered tier 1 and tier 2 streets as well. They try to get all the roads that are traveled most frequently at higher speeds in our community. And when all those are taken care of, then our public works teams goes to the neighborhoods and gets those cul-de-sacs, gets those other streets that may 30 people travel on during the day rather than, thousands of people travel on during the day.
There was another one about South Mount Juliet Road to Hobson Pike.
Sure. There it is. Yep. That's outside of our city limits. But the state's been very heavy on Mount Juliet Road today. So I would suspect that area is probably looks just like Mount Juliet Road, which is clear.
I like Tony's comment. The snow
Yep, there
can
you
go
go.
kick rocks. I'm over it.
Right? Then Kim has an appointment in Providence. You should be able to get there fine, Kim. If you're in that neighborhood street area that it's not cleared, take it extremely slow because that ice is slick. And then once you're out of that area, you should be good. Providence area, all the commercial area, the retail area, the main roads in Providence are clear. Of course, your neighborhood streets still have the snow and ice.
I think this is hit on as well. It's not that if you're in county that you don't get help. It's just that it's not in city limits. So the city of Mount Juliet is just the agency that's not serving it. If you want to touch on that, Deputy Chief.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a civics lesson, but we all live in the United States of America. So the federal government gives us certain services. Then we also live in the state of Tennessee. So we also get additional services that the state of Tennessee has, such as them focusing on the state roads and interstates in our community. And then we also have Wilson County government, and Wilson County government really takes care of the unincorporated areas in Wilson County that are not part of any type of city limit. Wilson County, we pay Wilson County taxes. So we get a level of those services, whether it's from the schools to the jail, to the sheriff's office, to the Wilson County EMA, all the different county services that we have. But they take care of the roads outside of city limits. And then when you have the city limits, you have an additional tax for additional services that are offered from sewer, from a fire department, to a EMS, a city EMS department, to our police department, to our own public works department. So most cities have a little bit extra services than the more rural county areas. It's just all about where you choose to live and what taxes you want to pay and what services you want with those taxes. It's the best way I can explain it. And I probably did a little bit terrible job with it because I'm not a civics teacher, but that's about as close as I can get to it.
I know from living in the county part. I know from living in the county part, we had to call the sheriff's office versus the police department to get help. If that kind of also helps put it into perspective, at least I believe that's correct.
Exactly. Yeah. some questions about is there a visible map as to what roads have been treated or plowed? There's not. We have a map that shows their tier 1 and tier 3. It was on our live yesterday. If you want to watch it again, you're welcome to go back and view that. But it kind of shows all the different tier 1, tier 2 streets that they've tackled. Those are clear. Now they're just kind of focused on the neighborhood streets in heavy areas with heavy traffic throughout the community. And, talking to them today, they've had 6 pieces of equipment working. Of course, when they're using it 24/7, there's issues that come about, mechanical issues. So 2 pieces of those 6 are down. So now 4 pieces of equipment are out there operating while they repair the other 2 pieces of equipment that are currently down. So it's a full 24/7 operation. It's got to give it to them because it's 12 people running this 24/7 operation. So you can imagine they're working 12-hour days. They've been doing that for 5 days now, I think, with what this winter storm has, and we're just grateful for that. We don't have these storms often, so to give perspective, you wouldn't want a government to invest into 20 snow removal trucks so you can have the snow removed in the next day, because that would just be a waste of money on the investment. So you look at your return on investment. If we rarely have these storms, you do what you can to keep the most main roads open and clear, and then you focus on your neighborhood streets. So in a serious storm like this, you may have a couple days where you're still snowed in. The expectation of having road cleared the next day or the next day just isn't reasonable for a climate that we live in here. And looking back at our numbers, Jake, if you can pull up the police numbers. Okay. If you look back at here through this week, we've had 10, 11, almost 15 crashes. And so normally during a week period, we have anywhere from 30 crashes. So our crash numbers are actually down, even if we've had this storm. So we have more crashes when there is less hazardous roadways. But what you see is with the road hazards, there's less traffic on our roadways, so the less incidents of crashes are occurring. And the majority of our crashes are occurring by distracted drivers. And where we really need to do to limit crashes out there and to be safer is to limit these distractions, because folks have these phones up when they're driving, and it causes so many rear end crashes in our community. And if we put that phone down, our areas would be a lot safer. Our roads would be a lot safer if we all drove just a little bit better without that phone up in front of our face all the time.
And I think the
Lord, with a
numbers.
question. Go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, I was just going to say with the numbers with the disabled stuck vehicles as well. If you look at the 49 on day 1, if you add up the rest of the days ever since Monday, it's 38. So 38 to the 49. I think that just speaks volumes to what the public works crew has done and how they've been able to clear the roads like that.
Right. And for us to have, anywhere on the south end of town, 6 inches to 8 inches on the north end of town, and the temperatures that we've had, it's really hard to clean that ice off the ground in a lot of the areas. I know in our parking lot at headquarters, there's a chunk of ice I thought I could kick out of the parking lot, and I kicked it, and it was like kicking a brick. It didn't move, and I had to kick it again and again and again. It finally moved and it left. So when that stuff freezes, it hardens up really good. And even those plows have a difficult time removing the ice in many of these areas where we see it. Thankfully, the sun has been out. That helps a lot. The sun provides that radiant heat onto the different surfaces, which helps turn that stuff into slush. And once it's slushy, it's a lot easier for the plows to push out of the way. So a lot of it has to do with temperature, has to do with sunlight. It has to do with how cold it got, how deep down freeze did it get. And it's been really cold. It's, there were some areas in town with -2 degrees for a low during the storm. And it's been up and down, and it's going to be back up next week with 60s, which is absolutely wonderful. And I'm looking forward to that. Even if it's going to rain, there's a lot of rain expected. I'm grateful for the 60-degree weather.
We need to make sure that you're not coughing, though, because with the temperatures going down and up, I know that's when my allergies get me. Hopefully we can get you better by then.
Yeah, this up and down with my allergies and being out in the cold weather, this cough came about after it took me an hour and 30 minutes to shovel my driveway. So I knew I
Oh,
needed to get early at it. So that next day when we had 8 inches, I got to shovel in the driveway because I didn't want it to freeze up because I knew it would be impossible if I continued to drive on it. And thankfully, I was able to get it shoveled, but I got this congestion now.
Denise said, feel better. And
Yeah.
even with the congestion, I saw Lee Shan said, as a Brit living in the US for 11 years, that's the first time I've had the city limits thing explained in a way I can understand. Thanks, DC.
Yeah,
You did a great job.
absolutely. Absolutely. Just going through here to see if I see anything. Just some shout out from Ellie. A much thank you to all the wonderful public works for working around the clock, MJPD and first responders. Thank you. And she's ready for summer too. So that's great. All right. Well, I don't see many other questions. Let's see if Jake has anything for us. This is Jake, our multimedia specialist. He hangs out in the back.
How's it going? I
Good.
did have something to say. Miss Dawn, DJ did make it to work just fine. I saw your
Okay.
comment. He came by my office and greeted me, so he did make it here safely.
Good, good. Jake's our multimedia specialist. He helps us with all the graphics and photos and many other things here at police headquarters. But he's that tech guy when it comes to photo and video. Question here from David about we expecting flooding, and we are not expecting flooding. I haven't seen that yet. I think they're only suspecting about 2 inches of rain. And you think, well, we got 8 inches of snow. And so does that mean that 8 inches of snow is equal to 2 inches of rain? It's not. So snow is full of a lot of air, and it's not as dense as water. So 8 inches of snow is not 8 inches of rainwater. So just remind that, and don't think that that's going to lead to some type of flooding event in our community. If you compacted that snow very, very tight, it may be even less than an inch of water, if it was considered rain water.
A civics lesson, a science
That's
lesson. You're giving all the lessons today.
Rich would be proud of me. And then snowplow in Langford Farms, and Lane, I'm sorry, but Langford Farms is not in the city limits of Mount Juliet. And just some kind comments about thanks for the dedication, and Don with the thanks, Jake. Good deal. All right, Jake, we'll let you close it out.
All right, y'all. Be safe. Clear the snow off the top of your cars, and we'll see you back here next time.
All right. Good job, man. Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Bye.